The message arrived at midnight. Every screen across human space froze at the exact same moment. Entertainment feeds died. Private channels went silent. Even emergency systems hesitated, as if something older, heavier, had pushed its way through. Ambassador Elena Vasquez did not flinch. She calmly slid a ribbon between the pages of her book and closed it. Then she looked up. An alien face filled the screen. Insectoid, massive, armored in deep violet chitin. Eyes like polished obsidian, reflecting nothing. "I am High Archons 3 of the Valkyrie Dominion," the creature announced. "I speak now to humanity." Across 12 human systems, billions listened. Parents held children closer. Command centers went silent. Weapons long in use were suddenly remembered. "For 3,000 years, 3 continued, your species has existed only because we allowed it." Elena folded her hands. She already knew where this was going. "We have consumed 16 civilizations," the Archon said calmly. "Their worlds belong to us now. Their people serve us or are extinct. No emotion, just fact. We studied you," 3 went on. "No fleets, no defenses, no weapons worth mentioning. A peaceful species," he clicked. "A harmless one. You will surrender your 12 systems within 1 solar cycle. You will present yourselves for judgment. Those deemed useful will live. The rest will not." Then the threat came. "Our armada numbers 1 billion ships. Resist us, and humanity will vanish, unremembered." The transmission ended. Elena stood. Her staff rushed in, fear written on every face. "We need to contact Earth Command," someone began. "No," Elena said softly. She smiled, not nervously, not bravely, but like someone whose long wait had finally ended. "Prepare a reply," she said. 2 words. Moments later, the Valkyrie received humanity's response. It read, "Come then." Far across the galaxy, High Archons 3 stared at the words. He laughed. He should not have. For several long seconds after the message was sent, no one in the communications room spoke. The words "come then" still glowed faintly on the console screen, already racing outward through space toward Valkyrie territory. Thomaston swallowed. "Ambassador," he said carefully, as if volume alone might make the situation worse. "You just invited 1 billion warships to attack us." Elena Vasquez did not turn around. She was staring through the viewport, out into the black ocean of space, into the stars humanity had lived among for 3,000 years without ever raising its voice. "Yes," she said calmly. "I did." Around her, fear finally broke through professional discipline. "We don't have a fleet," one aide said. "We don't even have planetary defenses," another added. "Our military budget barely registers on Concord records." Thomas stepped forward, his voice shaking now. "I've worked diplomacy for 10 years. I've seen the ledgers. We trade. We explore. We negotiate. That's it." Elena nodded slowly. "That's all you were meant to see." She turned to face them, and for the first time since the broadcast, the smile faded from her face. "What do you think kept us alive for 3,000 years?" she asked quietly. No one answered. "When we joined the Galactic Concord," Elena continued, "we were younger than almost everyone in that chamber. They had empires older than our recorded history. They had fleets that could sterilize systems. And they were watching us." She walked to the console and brought up a historical projection. Early human expansion, first contact records, Concord accession treaties. "We learned very quickly that peace in this galaxy isn't enforced by laws," she said. "It's enforced by fear. So we made a choice. A dangerous one. We remembered our own history," Elena said. "Thousands of years of war, nations rising and falling, entire continents burned over ideology, resources, pride. We remember what humans are capable of when survival is at stake." She looked each of them in the eyes. "And we decided the galaxy must never see that side of us. So we hid it." Thomas shook his head slowly. "You're saying this is all an act?" "A mask," Elena corrected. "A very carefully maintained one." For 3,000 years, she continued, we made ourselves appear small. No visible fleets. No orbital weapons. No aggressive research. We helped design Concorde sensor standards. We helped write inspection protocols. We helped define what military development looks like. Her finger tapped the console, and we made sure our real work didn't look like any of it. A new symbol appeared on the screen. A stark human skull. 2 crossblades behind it. Thomas had never seen it before. None of them had. This, Elena said softly, is the seal of the grave fleets. The room went cold. They're not part of the Concorde, Elena continued. They don't exist on any official record. They were never docked in visible space. They were never built in shipyards you find. Then where, Thomas began. Everywhere, Elena replied. And nowhere, she expanded the display. Hidden construction zones buried inside hollowed asteroids. Shipyards folded into subspace pockets. Vast caverns beneath planetary crusts. Mars, Europa, Luna. Facilities disguised as mining operations. Research stations listed as agricultural modeling centers. For 3,000 years, Elena said, we built warships designed to fight gods. Silence swallowed the room. They're not just ships, she went on. They're doctrines. Every fleet trained in simulations that never stopped running. Every battle humanity ever fought, against itself or others, fed into predictive systems. We lost millions in simulations, so we wouldn't lose billions in reality. Thomas felt sick. All this time we were lying. Yes, Elena said without shame. On purpose. Because the galaxy doesn't tolerate predators, she continued, but it ignores prey. So we became prey. She turned back to the stars. Quiet, cooperative, unthreatening. And we waited. On Mars, deep beneath rock that no sensor could penetrate, Admiral Kenji Tanaka felt the vibration before the alert. A single word appeared on his private console. Awaken. He did not hesitate. Begin activation sequence, he said. Lights ignited across chambers kilometers long. Systems dormant for centuries came alive. Gargantuan hulls, black, angular, sharp, stirred in their cradles. Ships built not for patrol, but for extinction-level war. Across human space, similar awakenings occurred. In dimensions a Concorde did not know existed. In voids where physics bent to human will. The grave fleets were rising. Back aboard the olive branch, Thomas finally whispered the question burning in his mind. If we had all this power, why didn't we conquer the galaxy? Elena closed her eyes for a moment. Because we were afraid, she said. Afraid of what they might do to us? Thomas asked. No, Elena replied softly. Afraid of what we might do to them. She looked tired now. When humans fight, she said, we don't stop halfway. We don't fight for territory. We fight until the threat no longer exists. That kind of power doesn't make you safe, she continued. It makes you dangerous to everyone. So we locked it away and prayed we'd never need it. Her gaze hardened. The Valkyrie just answered that prayer. Far across the galaxy, High Archons 3 dismissed humanity from his thoughts. A species with no fleet had sent a childish challenge. He ordered the vanguard forward. 10,000 ships. More than enough. He did not know that the mask had already fallen, that the predators were awake, that the grave fleets had been waiting 3,000 years for someone exactly like him. And soon, the galaxy would learn why humanity had smiled. The Valkyrie vanguard exited faster than light travel at the edge of the Proxima Centauri system in perfect formation. 10,000 warships. Veterans of 16 extermination campaigns. Each vessel larger than most human cities. Each one designed to break worlds, not fight peers. Commander Vexner stood on the bridge of his flagship, Devourer of Suns, watching the blue-white star burn on the main display. Scan the system, he ordered calmly. His sensors officer worked quickly. One habitable planet detected. Human colony. Population approximately 2 million. Defensive assets? The officer hesitated. None detected. No fleets. No orbital platforms. No weapon signatures. Exactly as promised. Vexner clicked his mandibles in satisfaction. This will be an execution, he said, not a battle. The vanguard advanced. Weapons powered up, energy building in coils and chambers that had reduced civilizations to ash. Below them, the human colony did not evacuate. No mass panic. No desperate launches. No last-minute defenses. The planet simply waited. On the bridge of the Devourer of Suns, Vexner frowned. Why aren't they running? Perhaps they've accepted extinction. An aide suggested. Vexner nodded. A wise prey knows when to stop struggling. Prepare planetary bombardment, he ordered. Begin with population centers. Commander, the sensors officer said suddenly, voice tight. I'm detecting anomalies. Vexner turned. Explain. Spatial distortions. Multiple. All around the fleet. Before the explanation could finish, space folded. The first human ship appeared without warning. It did not emerge from hyperspace. It did not arrive from any vector. It simply unfolded into existence. Black, angular, so dark it seemed to drink the surrounding light. Smaller than a Valkyrie battleship, and infinitely more threatening. Then another appeared. Then 10. Then 100. Then thousands. In less than 30 seconds, 10,000 human warships surrounded the vanguard completely. Above, below, behind, inside firing range. Every escape vector sealed. What is this? Vexner whispered. His sensor screamed. Weapons he could not classify. Power levels that made no sense. Drive signatures that violated known physics. On the flagship of the First Grave Fleet, Silent Fury, Admiral Sarah Park watched the Valkyrie panic ripple through their formation. Open a channel, she said calmly. Vexner's main screen flickered. A human woman appeared. Calm. Still. Eyes steady. This is Admiral Sarah Park of the Human Grave Fleets, she said. You have entered human space with hostile intent. You threaten our people. She paused. You will surrender now. The bridge of the Devourer of Suns erupted in disbelief. Vexner stared. Surrender? He clicked. We are the Valkyrie Dominion. We do not surrender. Sarah nodded once. Then you will die. All ships, she said quietly. Open fire. The universe ended. Human weapons did not roar. They whispered. The first Valkyrie ship vanished. Not exploded. Not damaged. Erased. No debris. No radiation. No trace it had ever existed. Then another disappeared. And another. And another. Invisible lances of nothingness cut through shields as if they were fog. Entire capital ships were sliced in half by forces no Valkyrie instrument could measure. Others simply stopped functioning. Life support failed. Power died. Crew suffocated in silent metal tombs. Return fire. Vexner screamed. Valkyrie weapons unleashed devastation. But the human ships were never where the shots landed. They moved before the weapons fired, predicting trajectories, dodging futures. Commander, the weapons officer cried, we can't hit them. They know where we'll fire before we do. This was true. Human combat AIs, trained on 3,000 years of simulated war, were already living seconds ahead of reality. 5 minutes in. 2,000 Valkyrie ships gone. 10 minutes. Half the vanguard destroyed. The formation collapsed. Ships collided. Commands overlapped. Fear replaced doctrine. This is impossible. Vexner shouted. We are being hunted. On Silent Fury, Sarah Park watched without emotion. This was never a fight, she said. It's pest control. 11 minutes after first contact, the Vanguard fleet ceased to exist. 10,000 Valkyrie warships reduced to drifting debris and expanding vacuum. Not a single human ship lost. Silence returned to Proxima Centauri. Sarah exhaled once. Send confirmation to Admiral Tanaka, she ordered. Vanguard eliminated. 0 losses. Deep beneath Mars, Admiral Kenji Tanaka read the message. He closed his eyes briefly, then nodded. The galaxy has been introduced, he said. Now prepare the rest. Across the Concord, emergency transmissions erupted. Reports contradicted sensors. Sensors contradicted history. A peaceful species with no military had annihilated a Valkyrie fleet in minutes. Ancient empires reevaluated centuries of assumptions. Elder races remembered old instincts. Fear. And far away, on his throne of conquest, High Archons 3 stared at the report. 10,000 ships. Gone. For the first time in centuries. He felt something unfamiliar. Uncertainty. He ordered the main armada to advance. 900,000 ships. Everything he had. He did not yet understand the truth. The Vanguard was not a warning. It was a demonstration. The destruction of the Vanguard did not cause panic. It caused disbelief. Across the Galactic Concord, emergency councils convened within hours. Ancient species with lifespans measured in millennia stared at reports that made no sense. 10,000 Valkyrie warships. Gone. In 11 minutes. By humans. That is not possible, declared the Thessan ambassador. Our intelligence confirms humanity has no standing military. A crystalline elder from the Chirix Collective replied calmly. Then your intelligence saw what humanity allowed it to see. For the first time in 50 million years, the Concord chambers fell silent, because one thought echoed across every mind. If humans hid this, what else did they hide? High Archons 3 did not share their uncertainty. He felt only rage. They destroyed my vanguard through deception, he hissed. Through trickery. Send the full armada. All 900,000 ships. His advisors hesitated. High Archon at the vanguard. Enough. 3 snapped. No force in this galaxy can withstand the Dominion in open war. The order went out. The greatest fleet ever assembled began to move. 900,000 warships. Planet killers. Siege carriers. Dreadnoughts older than some stars. They advanced toward human space like a tidal wave of extinction. Humanity did not hide. They did not retreat. They did something far more unsettling. They broadcast. Every major communication channel across the Concord activated at once. A human figure appeared. Older, composed, unmistakably military. Admiral Kenji Tanaka. This message is open, he said calmly. To every species of the Galactic Concord. What happens next is not a plea for help. It is a lesson. Behind him, the stars shifted. Human fleets assembled. Not hidden. Not disguised. Not silent. 200,000 ships. Less than a quarter of the Valkyrie force. But arranged with terrifying precision. We are engaged in the Valkyrie Armada at Kepler's Veil, Tanaka continued. You are invited to watch. Across the galaxy, billions turned their eyes toward the same region of space. Kepler's Veil was ancient, a massive cloud of stellar debris left behind by a star that had died before most civilizations were born. Visibility was poor. Sensors were unreliable. Perfect terrain for an ambush. High Archons 3 smiled when he saw it. They choose to fight us blind, he clicked. They are desperate. The Valkyrie Armada surged forward. 900,000 ships entering the Veil like a storm front. Then they saw the humans. The human fleets did not charge. They waited, perfectly still, like predators watching prey exhaust itself. Count enemy vessels, 3 ordered. Approximately 200,000, his officer replied. 3 laughed. They are outnumbered 4-1. This ends now. All ships, 3 commanded. Advance and annihilate. The Valkyrie Armada moved, and the galaxy held its breath. The humans struck first, not with brute force, with geometry. Human formations shifted like liquid. They broke into flowing patterns that denied the Valkyrie any stable target. Weapons fired and missed because the humans were already elsewhere. Then the first new weapon appeared. The No-Lance, a beam that did not burn, did not explode, did not damage. It removed. Entire Valkyrie dreadnoughts vanished mid-charge, not destroyed, deleted. Confusion rippled through the armada. What weapon is that? Why are shields failing? This violates every. The second weapon followed. cascade torpedoes. They struck one ship, then jumped, and jumped again, and again, like a disease spreading through cluster fleets. Dozens of ships died from a single impact. Panic began. Then came the third weapon, the one that broke them. The humans called it the Whisper. It wasn't visible. It wasn't detectable. It was a signal. Valkyrie ships receiving it went dark. Weapons offline. Engines dead. Life support failing. Entire crews trapped in powerless metal coffins. What is happening to my fleet? S3 screamed. We cannot identify the attack, his officers cried. There are no countermeasures. On the human flagship, Tanaka observed calmly. Enemy losses? He asked. 150,000 ships destroyed or disabled. An officer replied. Our losses, 12. The Concord delegates watching the broadcast were no longer seated. They were standing, some trembling, some in awe, some in terror. This is not warfare, whispered one elder. This is execution. The Valkyrie tried everything. Mass charges, flanking maneuvers, suicide rams. The humans anticipated every move. They had simulated this battle millions of times. Hour after hour, the Valkyrie armada bled. By the 6th hour, it broke. Ships fled in every direction. Command structure collapsed. Doctrine disintegrated. Retreat! S3 finally screamed. All ships retreat. Tanaka watched them scatter. He raised a hand. Cease pursuit, he ordered. Let them run. The galaxy did not understand. Why stop? Demanded an ambassador. You could finish them. Tanaka turned to the camera. This was never about extermination, he said. This was about memory. They will remember today. He paused. And so will all of you. The Battle of Kepler's Veil ended. 900,000 Valkyrie ships entered. Fewer than 50,000 escaped. Human losses, 94. Across the galaxy, something fundamental shifted. Old assumptions died. Ancient arrogance cracked. And for the first time, no one asked what humanity wanted, because the answer was clear. They wanted to be left alone. He Valkyrie Dominion did not collapse in fire. It collapsed in silence. Across their territory, star lanes emptied. Command nodes stopped responding. Fleet signals vanished one by one. For the first time in Valkyrie history, no orders came from the core. No threats. No declarations. No promises of vengeance. Just absence. High Archons 3 sat alone in the throne chamber of his homeworld. The chamber was vast, built to remind all who entered that the Valkyrie ruled by strength. The walls were lined with relics of conquest, weapons taken from fallen civilizations, symbols of domination carved into stone older than most suns. They meant nothing now. Reports scrolled silently before him. Main Armada, shattered. Vanguard, annihilated. Outer systems, declaring independence. Conquered species, rising. The Dominion was bleeding from wounds it did not understand. How? S3 whispered. 6 hours. That was all it had taken. 6 hours to undo an empire built over tens of thousands of years. A warning chimed, not an attack alarm. A proximity alert. S3 looked up sharply. What is it? He demanded. His remaining advisors stared at their displays in horror. High Archon, they're here. The image shifted. Valkyrie Prime filled the screen. And above it, human ships. Not hundreds, not thousands, tens of thousands. They hung in orbit with surgical precision. No firing, no movement, no aggression, just presence. S3 felt something cold settle in his chest. They bypassed everything, he murmured. While he had thrown everything at Kepler's Veil, humanity had gone around him. They had not chased his fleeing fleets. They had gone straight for the heart. On the bridge of the human flagship, Admiral Sarah Park studied the planet below. Purple oceans, dark continents, billions of lives. This was the world that had threatened to erase humanity. This was the world that had enslaved 16 species. And now it was defenseless. Open a channel, Sarah said. High Archons 3 appeared on the screen. Gone was the arrogance. Gone was the certainty. What remained was a ruler facing extinction. "You have lost," Sarah said calmly. "Your fleets are broken. Your defenses are neutralized. Your homeworld is surrounded." The three said nothing. There was nothing left to threaten her with. "We could destroy your planet," Sarah continued. "We could do exactly what you promised to do to us." "Erase you." She paused, letting the weight of it settle. "But we won't." Stree's eyes flickered. "Why?" he asked quietly. "You would be justified." Sarah's expression hardened, not with anger, but resolve. "Because extinction is easy," she said, "and we are tired of easy choices." She leaned forward. "You attacked us. You threatened our children. For that, there must be consequences. But genocide is not one of them." She raised a hand. "These are the terms. Unconditional surrender. Immediate release of every species you have conquered. Complete dismantling of your military. Permanent monitoring to ensure you never threaten another civilization." Stree's mandibles trembled. "And if we refuse?" Sarah's eyes went cold. "Then your species ends today. And the galaxy will understand why." Silence stretched between them. Stree thought of his people, of the billions on the surface below, of the empire he had ruled, of the mistake he had made. Finally, he lowered his head, a gesture no Valkyrie ruler had ever made to another species. "We surrender," he said. "The Valkyrie Dominion accepts your terms." The words echoed across the chamber, across the fleet, across the galaxy, on the human bridge. Sarah closed her eyes for a single second, then nodded. "A wise decision," she said. She cut the channel and turned to her officers. "Transmit confirmation to Admiral Tanaka. The war is over." Across the Concord, the news spread like shockwaves. The Valkyrie Dominion, conqueror of 16 civilizations, had fallen, not to annihilation, but to restraint. Worlds long enslaved felt chains unlock. Prison systems shut down. Occupation forces stood down. Species who had believed themselves forgotten felt hope return. And humanity did not celebrate. Admiral Tanaka stood before the assembled command council deep beneath Earth. "We achieved total military victory," he said. "And then we stopped." He looked around the chamber. "That choice would define us longer than the war itself." On Valkyrie Prime, High Archons 3 stood alone again in his throne room. Soon, the trophies would be returned. Soon, the Empire would be dismantled. Soon, the Dominion would be history. For the first time in his long life, he understood something. Humanity had not defeated him because they were stronger. They had defeated him because they knew when to stop. And that realization terrified him more than any weapon. The galaxy did not celebrate the end of the war. There were no victory songs, no triumphant broadcasts, no monuments raised in orbit. What spread instead was something far heavier: understanding. In the cycles that followed the Valkyrie surrender, the stars grew quieter than they had been in millennia. Former Valkyrie patrol lanes went empty. Borders once enforced by fear dissolved overnight. Species that lived under occupation for generations began the slow, uncertain work of learning how to live freely again. Freedom, many discovered, was not loud. It was fragile. Human ships arrived not as conquerors, but as logistics, medical vessels, engineering barges, food carriers, and reconstruction teams. They did not plant flags. They did not demand tribute. They repaired, supplied, stabilized, and then they left. Again and again, confused worlds asked the same question: "Why are you helping us?" And again, the answer was the same: because someone should have helped us once. High Archons 3 watched his empire dismantle piece by piece. Fleet yards were stripped, weapons melted down, command hierarchies dissolved into civil councils. The Valkyrie people did not riot. They mourned, not just for their defeat, but for the lie they had lived inside. They had believed strength meant domination. They had believed fear was respect. Humanity had shattered that belief without burning their homeworld, and that hurt more than annihilation ever could. In the galactic Concord chambers, silence replaced arrogance. Species that had once dismissed humanity now avoided meeting human eyes, not out of hatred, out of caution, because everyone now understood the same truth. Humanity had not fought to rule the galaxy. They had fought to make a point. Ambassador Elena Vasquez returned to Concord floor for the first time since the war. She was older now, tired in ways sleep could not fix. The chamber rose when she entered. She did not ask them to. "You are all wondering the same thing," Elena said calmly. "Why we stopped. We could have erased the Valkyrie. We could have claimed territory. We could have rewritten the balance of power." She paused, letting the weight of it settle. But power taken by force is never stable. And we have learned, painfully, what happens when victory becomes identity. We did not end this war to become the next empire. We ended it so no one would need to rise against one. An elder voice echoed from the upper tiers. "You expect us to believe you will simply walk away?" Elena nodded. "Yes. Humanity does not want the galaxy. We want our children to grow up without fearing it." That answer spread faster than any fleet ever had. Years passed. Trade resumed. Borders stabilized. Old grudges softened. The grave fleets returned to silence, folded back into hidden places between dimensions. Their crews returned to civilian lives they had never expected to see again. Their existence faded into rumor, into doctrine, into warning. Military academies across the galaxy adopted a new principle. Never assume silence means weakness, especially when that silence belongs to humans. Admiral Sarah Park retired quietly. She declined ceremonies, refused statues, chose a small home near an ocean that reminded her of Earth before the war. When asked once what she felt about the conflict, she answered honestly, "We didn't win. We survived." And sometimes that has to be enough. Admiral Tanaka remained at his post until the last fleet was sealed. On the final day, he stood alone in the command chamber beneath Earth. He looked at the dormant displays, at the weapons that could still end civilizations, and he issued one final order: lock it all away. May we never be worthy of using this again. 50 years after the war, the galaxy looked different. Not peaceful, but careful. Disputes ended in negotiation instead of threats. Aggression paused the human borders and thought better of itself. Empires learned restraint, not because it was noble, but because it was wise. On a quiet human world far from any border, a child once asked their teacher, "Is it true we scared the whole galaxy?" The teacher smiled gently. "No," she said, "we reminded them." In the deepest archives of the Concord, a final record was sealed. Humanity did not conquer the stars. They frightened them into choosing peace, and then refused to rule them. Somewhere beyond known space, stars continued to burn. Life continued to rise. Conflict still waited to be born, and humanity waited too. Not hunting, not threatening, just watching. Because the most dangerous thing in the universe was never anger. It was patience.